And so when Jesus looked at these men, and he said, pray, Father, their mind was spinning. And slowly it began to dawn on them that what Jesus is saying is that you have a master who wants to adopt you as his own child. So that everything he has is yours, so you can have the best life imaginable, and so that you can inherit all that he is and all that he has, and you can have a great life. And what must it have been like for a newly adopted slave to look at his master and for the first time utter the words, Father, Father. What gratitude. Blown away by the goodness of someone who wanted to make you his own. Does anyone here know who Lopez Lemong is? Few of you may. At the last Olympics in Beijing, Lopez Lemong carried the American flag into the stadium. But perhaps you don't know his story. Lopez Lemong was one of the lost boys of Sudan. When he was 6 years old, playing in the front yard of a church, enemy militia came, murdered the adults, took the children off to a military camp where they would be trained to be mercenary soldiers. But after 3 days, Lopez Lemong and several of his friends escaped through a hole in the fence. For 3 days, they walked to Kenya. In Kenya, they were arrested and put in a refugee camp where they lived for 10 years. 1 meal a day. At the end of 10 years, a relief agency had a goal to take 3,500 of these lost boys of Sudan to America. And there was a home in America, Robert and Barbara Rogers, who wanted to open their home in their life and take Lopez Lemong as one of their own children. This is a video that documents Lopez's story.
When he was here his second day, he came to me and he said, Dad, he said, I want to do my exercise. I want to run, but I don't know how far to run. And I said, well, how far do you want to go? And he said, 30 kilometers. And I said, I have no idea what 30 kilometers is. I said, my friend is the cross-country coach. I said, let me call him up. Call him, Jim Cox, he's the cross-country coach for Tully. I said, Jim, I said, this kid wants to run. I said, how far is 30 kilometers? He said, I'll be right down. He said, that's 18 miles. So I told Lopez to run to the dam and back, which is 14 miles. But you go all the way down, and when the lake ends, there's a big wall, turn around and come back. So he took off, and Jim met him at his driveway as he was returning. Lopez had already run 13 miles. Jim thought he'd run with him back to our house. He couldn't keep up with him. This is a cross-country coach that runs almost every day. So we knew that he was a pretty darn good runner.
We met Lopez at the airport, and it was July 31st, 2001, and we had a big sign saying welcome. We headed on out to the car, and he was surprised that we had a car. He couldn't believe we had a car. Got in the car, and then...
Went to McDonald's.
Yes.
We went to McDonald's. He told me later that he thought we took him to a really fancy restaurant to celebrate, because in Africa, being pretty poor, he wouldn't have been allowed inside a restaurant. So he was amazed by it, and then we got on the highway. All the boys in the town have always been impressed by Route 81 coming from the airport.
This is a very good road.
It's Africa, the roads.
We do not see roads like this. This is a very good road.
His first meet with the team, they had a golf cart leading the race. That keeps the kids all on track. Well, he didn't really understand the concept of racing, so he thought the point of the race was to beat the golf cart. So he was sprinting out and passing the golf cart. So the guy in the golf cart would go cut the course and get in front of him again. Well, he passed the golf cart 2 or 3 times. Finally, he was dying. And there was 2 more experienced runners that passed him at the finish line. He was a little upset that he lost the race because he was 3rd. And of course, when he ran, he was representing us, the family, and I mean, he put the burden on heavy. And so the next race is the Syracuse Invitational at Lemoyne College. And the coach says, I'm going to tell you how to run this race. So he says, you see this mark on the uphill here? He says, this is 2 miles. Up until that point, I want you to settle in with the front guys in the pack and just run off of their pace for 2 miles. After that, if you still feel good, go ahead and go. So there he is, carrying on a conversation, talking to all the other runners in the front with 400 kids on their heels, and I'm standing on the hill up at the 2 mile mark, and he says, oh, hey, that's my mark, I've got to go. And he did. And I don't think he ever lost another cross-country race. Well, he was saying yes to everything. I said, well, you know how to use the toilet and you know how to use the shower? And so he thought he did. Turns out he was taking a shower, it was freezing cold, which I guess he thought, you know, he'd never had hot water before, why would it be hot here? And then the next day he gets in and the shower's so hot that he's like jumping in and out, putting soap on and jumping. So I guess on the 3rd day he realized that he actually had control over what it was doing. And all of this came as a revelation 6 months later. He's comfortable with me, we're a family now, and we're laughing about some of these things he did. And I said, I kept asking him, do you know how to do this, do you know how to do this? And she said, yes to everything. I said, why didn't you tell me you didn't know? I said, I just wanted to teach you. And he said, I knew I did not belong in this house with you people, so I thought they'd be coming to get me, and I didn't want to cause any problems. He assumed that he would be in like maybe a servant's quarters or an outbuilding or something, and he just thought that we didn't understand the rules. He came from the lowest rung in a third world nation, and what he had seen of the world, this broke every rule. I said, why don't you call your friends back there? You know, talk to his friends here. We didn't talk to his friends in Africa. I said, don't you want to tell them about your life here? And he said, they could not believe me. He said they would think I was making it up. They would think I was lying. They just have no frame to realize how every single American lives. He's made us see our world a little different, I would say.
If you can imagine the incredible gratitude of a lost boy of Sudan looking at a wealthy American father who's opened up his heart and home to give him everything he has, saying, Father, with incredible humility and gratitude, then you recognize exactly the kind of heart that God listens to. When we, who are all lost boys and girls, are brought into his family and are able to say, Father. You know, I think that if we want to cultivate this kind of heart, 2 things must happen. There's 1 point in your bulletin, but I think there are 2. The first thing is we actually have to be adopted into God's family. There needs to be a time where we really trust Jesus as our one and only hope and our one and only way. And then the second thing we need to do is labor to see new people adopted into God's family. Because there is nothing that rejuvenates our spirit of gratitude over being brought into a father-son relationship with God, a father-daughter relationship with God, than by seeing others enter into the same thing. What kind of heart does God listen to? A heart of gratitude. Secondly, Jesus revealed that God listens to a respectful heart. Because after Jesus said, Our Father, he said, hallowed be your name. Hallowed. That's an unusual word for us. And it's a hard concept to grasp. I suppose I would explain it this way. To be hallowed means to recognize the inherent goodness or power of something so as to give it the appropriate amount of respect. That's what it means to be hallowed. To recognize the inherent goodness or power of someone or something so as to give it the appropriate amount of respect.